Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to my esteemed panelists. Right, what better time to be talking about cloud convergence with AI and adding the entire data-driven innovation on top of it. Pick up any newspaper today, and you will see all these three terms listed at least in 2 or 3 articles. Walk into any business CXO meeting, and you would heard these three terms. Right, 2016, 17 we used to do board meetings and more often than not we were asked this question: what if I move to cloud? Is my data secure? What if I add new technologies like AI, ML? Will it compound the problem? Fast forward to 2022, post 2 year pandemic with more than 180 plus countries impacted. Ask anybody on what's been the biggest reason for digital transformation in your organization, including cloud, AI, and the exploration of data that's happened. The answer would come COVID. Go and talk to a CXO. And I was present in a board meeting. I said, "Was you've got 7 offices in India?" And he said, "Sorry, Jaspreet, you're wrong. We've got 14,000 offices in India with data all over the place." And I couldn't understand. And he said, "Boss, these are the number of employees working from home. Each home is an office, right? Add to it the enormity of data that we are collecting every day, put it on cloud, use AI engines. I don't even envy the job that all 5 of you do in your respective organizations. Thank you once again. So Dhruv, let me ask you for your opening comments. When you got the invite, when you saw the topic, what were your initial thoughts, please?
No, it's actually very pertinent and an excellent topic, right? And I must say that we've all spoken about AI, we've all spoken about cloud, right? But when we talk about the convergence of AI and cloud, right, that I think makes the entire topic so relevant as we speak today, right? So when implemented in concert and supported by a strong data-driven strategy, cloud and AI provide value that is greater than the sum of their parts, right? So cloud computing on one stage, offers businesses more flexibility, agility, cost savings, right? And for these for these reasons exactly, uh, any report we pick up, they'll all say that the demand of cloud computing is only going in one direction, that is upward, right? Now, at the other hand, if we talk about AI as well, right, it has already started to dominate the tech world, right? And we all know that it's impacting each and every industry, it's impacting each and every function, each and every work domain. Now, artificial intelligence and cloud computing have today merged to improve the lives of millions, right? From a typical consumer to an organization to countries, they are working together to make everybody's life so much easier. For example, if you look at various digital assistants like Siri's or Google Homes or Alexa, they all blend AI and cloud computing in our lives every day, right? With a quick verbal cue, users can make a purchase, they can adjust a home thermostat, or they can even hear singing. They can even hear a song play on a connected speaker. So the seamless flow of how AI and cloud-based resources make those requests a reality, right? Many users, many a times don't even realize that it's such a customized blend of these two technology spheres, AI and cloud computing, that make these connected, intuitive experiences possible. Right? I think with that, I'll close, and I'll hand it over to you, Jaspreet. There's a lot to be said on this topic, but let's move ahead.
Yeah, Dhruv, thank you. From talking about a data-driven strategy to talking about AI will be dominating the tech world to talking about how we are changing how the lives of billions of people are changing just by this convergence. Being a security professional by heart, I'm a little bit worried, but let's see if we can cover that in the next 40-45 minutes. Shashank, over to you. Your initial thoughts, please.
No, I think this is a pretty vast space to talk about in few minutes. Anything would be a disservice. And I think, Dhruv, I've already spoken. You've set the context pretty well. I guess people are just kind of setting up their entire kind of data science, AI kind of labs onto cloud. It has become a really like, a complete factory which kind of provides, all the tools, the resources, and, all the frameworks that one needs. Right? And it, of course, varies from the service, different cloud service providers, whether it's at AWS, Azure, or Google, or GCP. I think, there's a vast space which is still growing. People are kind of leveraging these cloud services specifically for AI kind of capabilities in their solutions, whether it is from data integration, sourcing the data from various sources, or kind of exploring that data, preparing that data for, right kind of, model building and trainings and all that. There are a lot of tools to deploy these models and then finally kind of manage them on a cloud platform, and then further kind of integrated further for consuming purposes via APIs, via dashboards, reports, scorecards, and likewise. So I guess there is an entire ecosystem that is shaping up on cloud for AI, which is very, very vibrant, very mature now. Out of the box solutions are available. A lot of experimentations and pilots are possible. And this is all kind of really helping in AI literacy and maturity across the globe. So I think very interesting times for us to kind of really leverage this kind of a ecosystem that the cloud providers have created, and this is going to only propel and excel the pace of AI adoption in the world.
Perfect. I would probably come back to you, Shashank, on two things which caught my fancies. One, propel the AI adoption in the world. What are the factors that could probably take India to the next leap of faith? And the reason why I say this is I give this example a lot. The European Union moved from 2G to 3G in 10 years, or maybe longer. We moved from 2G to 3G to 4G in 10 years, right? Whatever time they take to adopt, we'll probably adopt it faster given the technology bend that we have in our country. And the second, I would be more interested in understanding about the factories on cloud concept that you spoke about. So maybe, we'll definitely come back to that. Sharad, would you want to go next, please?
Yeah, actually, I'll like to dissect the topic into. I'm just picking out the keywords. So probably in due progression of their usage, data, intelligence, innovation, and cloud can be kept entirely separate.
Okay.
So data is needed for everything. So I just remember my college days when we were doing, it was a computer CNC generated numerical grid generation around a shape, in which what we used to do, we had the luxury of having a PC 286 of our HOD. We would input, if we would input 100 data points, then we could go out for a coffee and come back and the result still won't be there. So means you can analyze data through Excels, through charts, but data was always there and has always been important. Second thing is intelligence. How do you interpret the data? So the change now is, now we are trying to let computers work for us. So the term AI has come in. So if they can help us do some of the things that a human needs to do, if that can be done artificially using machine aids, so that becomes artificial intelligence. And innovation has been, I would say, the strength of humankind. We have been innovating, starting from creating fire, wheel, anything. So whatever we have been doing has been leading us everywhere. And earlier, everything metamorphically used to be on cloud. We used to wish to the God that, yeah, everything is there. But now it's virtually actually being made available on the cloud. So I'm just taking a leap back at you had said earlier that if we go 5 years back, so the focus of every business heads rather was, can you find a magic pen, magic bullet, magic algorithm which can solve my business problem without knowing what exactly can be done? Then came the time that we all have started saying that data is the next oil. Data is probably more important, more costly, more useful than oil. So just I'm trying to mix things together. But yes, data is so, but how much data is being used empirically to derive the benefits for the organization or even for the mankind? Some of the very good use cases in which ML and AI have been used, I personally feel it's the medical science, in which we hear a lot about that lot of diagnosis on various serious type of illnesses are being made using AI ML driven algorithms. And cloud sort of has become, I would say, a hygiene, but still there are means cost to value balancing acts that we or anyone would have to look into. It's not that cloud is good for everything, and it's not that cloud is bad because there may be security risks. So we all have to take a conscious call and see what can be done where. But yes, with times the uses of cloud has been increasing. So that topic, cloud convergence with AI, I would say cloud convergence with AI and data leading to innovation is a very apt topic, and probably we'll all enjoy being with each other. Thank you.
Super excellent points around, going from fire to the current innovation that's happening to having magic bullets and dividing this into being a data-led story, whether it's data innovation, etc., on the cloud, right? Rather than bringing cloud into the mix of pieces. And obviously, last 2 points, one on cost to value, which is every CXO's first question, right? On what's the cost to value. And second, given the news that some of us are privy to, right, is the entire security one question. So just a question to all of you. The platform that you're using today to do the recording of this, can somebody tell me what's the valuation of this company, and what was the valuation before 2020 March, which is before COVID, and what's the valuation now? So this will directly impact our topic, and I can tell you why. Any guesses?
I think it's 30x as of now.
Any absolute numbers?
Absolute number, what I remember last is probably 50 or $60 billion. That's what I last remember.
So perfect. So I'll not go to anybody else. It is $55 billion, and it is more than United, Singapore, and Emirates valuation put together. So we can understand where cloud and data, if it comes together, what kind of valuations we're talking about. Vidhya, over to you, please.
So I'll start with a small anecdote. I recently heard a speech by a youngster. He must be a schoolgoer. An Indian talking in the US about cloud and AI, and he was basically talking about his own business. It was in TED Youth. So the simplest explanation that he gave for cloud was, we use electricity, we use water, we use all these necessary things, but we don't build the massive structures in our backyard. What we do is we go to a provider who gives us that. So cloud is just equivalent to that. It made total sense. It was very normal way of saying that everybody can understand. So it actually stuck with me. So what I think is that, AI is so powerful, and it actually complements what humans can do. And it helps organizations to look at problems in a way that is very unique. Sharad was talking about, business is coming up with, give me a magic wand or give me a magic potion to, solve my business problem. Earlier they used to ask about it. Now it is already available. So I'll also give you an example of one of the vendors that I'm dealing with. So what we are doing is that we are trying, we keep checking out the vendor's capabilities through POVs and POCs. So this vendor, at the moment when we started talking, he gave both the options, right? Do you want to try it in your on-premises, or do you want to try it in cloud? So that has become a mandatory thing. So it's not an option anymore, as in it is not an additional luxury anymore. It is a clear-cut requirement that the vendors are also coming up with. So the convergence of AI and cloud is basically it's the seed to innovation. I would say that automation and ML are accelerating and helping with the innovation process within the banking domain, or for that matter, any industry. So it gives, be it your new customer experience, and you want to develop a new product, you want to create new business models, and or just to improve your business processes or business operations processes. So all these things are getting accelerated. And the power of AI and the cloud AI is that it can sift through an enormous amount of data and in a very short time, and it can come up with distinct insights. I think business is looking for that. That is the a key. When we talk about AI and cloud together, it's basically that's the benefit that the business is looking at. And it's not like I said, it's not an option, it's not a luxury anymore. It is actually a mandatory requirement for every such organization. That's where we are at.
Perfect. Vidhya, I think again goes back to the point that I made 2016-17. People would ask us, should we go to the cloud? Right. And now the question is, how soon can we go to the cloud if we're not already there?
In fact, you should also say that, is your the businesses are coming up saying that, is your product also cloud friendly? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the vendor just gave me a 2 option. My product can work both in your virtual machines to test out, and also your on-prem machines, and also on the cloud. So I have both these options. In fact, he says that if you're ready for the cloud, I can give you the access right away.
Faster.
And it's as easy as, on-prem, you have to make a lot of arrangements. Your infrastructure should be bought, and you have to see the adaptability and all those stuff. But cloud, it's already there, and, just log on and use. That's how
it's pay per use, right? And you don't need to build or think about capacity management, etc. Right. And excellent points on improving business operations, getting business insights faster. Today, in the click-through world, you cannot wait to get business insights, right? Especially on what's happening in the larger ecosystem from an organization perspective. Thank you so much. Meheriar sir, last but not the least, your opening comments, please.
So, Jaspreet, I think a lot of comments which are already there, and mine would not be different. But I think it's been a while that the enterprise technologies have been dependent on the workplaces. The development side of technology is an inflection point. Having said that, the emphasis is placed in finding a suitable way to manage the convergence. That's very, very important. So if you're talking about namely the cloud computing, data analytics, and AI, the Internet of Things is the prolification of all this converged into one. So these emerging technologies have been elevated to the fact that the development enterprises grow dedicated to the digital workplace that we are moving towards. And these convergences are game changers in all of our industries. So that's very, very important. Although when we talk about AI, data analytics, and cloud computing, all are leveraged in separate ways, their work chains are interestingly linked towards this convergence and how to make it happen. So Jaspreet, that was a thought for every organization is that today the cloud, the AI journeys, and the data have become their prime implementation strategy. I would say that some have adopted cloud quickly, some have not, depending on their industry requirements. It is not necessary to go for cloud, but it is very important to have an infrastructure that is future ready. But there is no compromise between having a data strategy and an AI strategy, which is going to be very, very important for us to look forward towards. That's all this week.
So, Meheriar sir, thank you so much. Very important points on data strategy, innovation strategy may or may not move to the cloud, obviously, depending upon the business. There are some sectors in which there's tons and tons of work happening around cloud, but whereas some sectors, may not, the business requirement may not be, or the business strategy may not be aligned to cloud. So an excellent point on the convergence of, business strategy and technology strategy, if I were to call it, whether it's data, innovation, cloud, etc. And working with almost like 100 odd organizations, I can today tell you that it is still like a far-fetched dream where business strategy and technology strategy go hand in hand. And I'm talking about some of the leading sectors also. But now let me start. Yeah, please go ahead.
Just an example today, in my industry, transportation and logistics, today, we as an organization and future roadmap, we have said that we'll be 100% on cloud. But I would say that a business driving force is moving towards cloud, but there would be certain companies who would say that I would be 50-50 on cloud, on premise. But that does not affect your business strategy. I would say that you go according to what your business requires, and that should be the driving force for all of us.
Sir, you also mentioned about convergence of some of these strategies, right? So I would probably want to start with you on a follow-up question. How would these technologies interact with each other, and would that bring a strategic or a competitive advantage to me?
Yeah, so I'll give you a real life example. In logistics, we operate on various domains as an industry segment in logistics. So we operate on freight forwarding, we operate on warehousing as a business, and the last one is the express last mile delivery platforms. So if you look at the overall structure of an organization, we would operate on different group company environments. But then when we talk about data strategy for the whole group company, it has to be one strategy for the full group. Number one. Number two, data as a strategy and convergence, visibility of the data, that has to be number one. Number two, when I implement AI for these various businesses, they would go hand in hand for all the requirements, but each of the use cases would be different. So when I formulate a data strategy or an AI strategy for a company, I would say that, as I already answered to you, my cloud would be 100%. Similar would be the situation for my AI and data. So the business would have visibility across all the group companies. They would look at data coming out, your intelligence that would be coming out from the data, which is going to be very, very important as a driving force for looking at visibility and your future running requirements and planning, which is going to be very, very important. So data is going to be very, very important for you to look at futuristic business decisions, which you get on the table for them to decide on. So I think that is very important for me.
Superb. So get the data on the table to take a decision. Keep keywords noted, sir. Sharad, sir, you had mentioned that the convergence, while happening in the industry, is still probably in the in a very, very infant stage, right? What steps should organizations listening to us today take so that they can use some of these technologies from a better future perspective and use the full advantages?
So actually, first of all, I'll talk about the providers. The providers providing these technology will have to democratize the technology and make it optimally priced. Means I'm not finding the right word. Means it shall be optimally priced so that it can be tested, and not just tested. If you get a good POV, so then it can, while you are trying to implement it, it shall come. The value shall be substantial. It cannot be just a couple. If I spend 100 rupees and I get a value of 110 rupees, that won't make a case. So the providers have to make their technology democratically available to all at a price points where the values can be easily proved. And coming to the other side of the table, like us, where we are the users. So users starting from the top management, so their AI literacy quotient would have to be improved. So they would need to be educated what can be achieved and what cannot be achieved. There are certain things which cannot be achieved. Means like everyone says that this cannot solve the world hunger problem, but yes, I feel that if we use it properly, we may even solve the world hunger problem. So, but still there will be certain things which can't be used. So the clear demarcation between what can be done, what cannot be done, and what is in it for me. It's not that if Mr. Jaspreet is using it in his company, I shall also follow suit. But whether it is relevant to me as a business or not, or irrelevant, that has to be clearly segregated. So that would come from a proper AI literacy quotient and understanding of the usage. Why I say the top management? Ideally, not just the top management, everybody shall be able to know what all these digital tools, digital means can help you achieve, and then start thinking whether we shall take the plunge. And these teams shall be given, when we come to operation, these teams shall be given power, not just responsibility. They shall be substantially given responsibility, means power and responsibility both, so that even if whatever they try to do, so there shall the hierarchical things in some of the organizations which may exist need to be done away with, and whatever decision they take shall be their decision. And even if they are failing, they means, though all of us say that we love to fail fast, but in most of the organization failure is a failure, means that still is seen as a taboo. That also, but these are some, I'm talking tech, most of the things I talked about are soft behavioral issues that I'm talking about, except from the provider side. And yes,
right.
last,
so I think behavior, yeah, please go ahead.
Last, the skill sets needs to be, means it's difficult to get all the skills from outside, so some training of the people in house, so it's upskilling them may be helpful. You were asking something, Mr. Jaspreet.
No. So, you were talking about behavioral aspects, and I was going to ask you about skill sets only, but you answered that. Unfortunately, if you open up 5 profiles on LinkedIn, 5 random profiles, 4 profiles will have AI, ML, cloud data written in them. That is the state of the industry we are living in, right?
True.
Very, very unfortunate, but a huge opportunity for everybody to upskill themselves.
Just a small thought here.
Yeah.
Means, can we have sort of some good certifications agency in which what I write is actually verifiable, not from anyone? Means some sort of, can we, if Sharad wants to say that he is a beginner in the AI skill sets, and Mr. Jaspreet wants to say that he is at a proficient level, can it be verified? Just a thought. Food for thought.
So I will not go there, but I can only tell you there are certification agencies which started with this intent. The intent was there, right? Today, there are lots of certifications where you can actually write to the provider to see what level of proficiency there is. But unfortunately, it's also become a rat race. That's the problem. That's my personal viewpoint.
It's rat race also, and there are some marketing gimmicks there too. Sorry for
Perfect.
that.
Yes.
So I believe Sharad talked about the strategies. I also wanted to talk about a little bit on the on the execution part of it. While the strategy, you talk about how you're going to, like Meheriar sir mentioned, you probably have to have, you decide that I want to be 50-50 on cloud and on-prem, or I have to be 100% on the cloud. But when it comes to execution, I think I'll take the power of 3 in here. So the first 3 things that the organization should be ready with is to ask them, sir, have we moved our core applications infrastructure into the cloud? Right? So that should be the first question that has to be answered, because if you are ready with the cloud, which means all your applications that you're going to use, at least the core ones, should be ready with their infrastructure into the cloud. Now, the second point on that is have you optimized your data management infrastructure so that you have a single source of access, for your cloud. So cloud can look up to your single source and get the data that is required. And then the third one is the analytics capabilities. Whether, have you started exploring and experimenting with AI solutions? Have you started your, building small models? And then you move on to, how to integrate that. So the next comes the bigger question is to what are the actual steps when you are ready with these 3 things? What are the actual steps that you need to integrate AI insights into your business processes? So first is your cloud foundation, like Sharad sir mentioned, that the right provider, the provider democratizing the availability and making the price more competitive. Is your cloud foundation, are you able to manage your AI and ML workload and data processing, all these things in your cloud? So basically, your cloud foundation should be, to start with, that should be your strong point. And the second one would be more towards your data foundation, whether you have a single source of truth for all your data sources, or are you, diversified, whether you can bring them all together. Do you have that single platform where where the data can be soundly taken? And the third, but definitely not the least, is the AI foundation, that, your experimentation of your use cases. How ready are you with your AI governance and with your responsible AI principles? And, whether you are ready with all these experiments to be actually, pipelined to your crowd. And basically, if you're enabling your businesses with that insight, is it going to be useful? All these things are the execution steps of it. Well, like Sharad mentioned, it is the skill set that we are talking about, because all these things are pretty new for a lot of us, right? It's not in there, right? So we need to develop our skills and, empower our people to make that bold step, give them like big organizations like Standard Chartered, where I work. They have connected or partnered with Udemy to give the necessary platform for them to learn.
Training, and in fact, Government of India has a brilliant program on the skills development piece, where at least there's a lot of attempt to train the larger country on the new technologies that we are speaking about. So that's
just one point on the verification of the certification. LinkedIn had this, prompt. You have listed down this skill in your profile. Do you want to test it out to find out which level you are? I think that's a good one. I tried it and it was quite useful. And, I can, confidently say that I am an agile practitioner. I'm confident in Python. I'm confident in R. So those are the things that, LinkedIn started. I don't know how many people actually use it or use it for verification, but I've tried it and it is quite useful.
I don't want to fail in LinkedIn, right? It probably be an embarrassment.
Yeah, you can choose to publish it or you can, ignore it also.
Yeah. Dhruv, coming to you, you started this debate around the entire convergence of AI cloud, right? I have a question, right? AI-driven automation, right? On the convergence piece, and post which, Shashank, I would want to hear your views also on the same. Where do you think does the future lie, and what should organizations do? I was reading a statistic which said that AI-driven devices do at least 60% of the routine surgeries in the US, right? And believe me, I probably wouldn't want to be under a knife with a AI, which is AI powered, given I'm a cyber professional. So, Dhruv, your thoughts, please.
Absolutely. So, first of all, the convergence of AI, cloud, and data, right? It's an exciting phenomenon as we speak today, right? So, on one hand, while we have cloud computing that has made AI much more accessible, at the same time, AI is also adding value to cloud computing services. On one hand, while AI development requires data, right, as the foundation, at the same time, data management is also being improved with AI, right? So that's where the entire symbiotic relationship between AI, cloud, and data, right, starts showing a phenomena, which we call as, more than the sum of its parts. Now, coming to AI-driven automation, right? So there are many areas in which, AI has drastically helped in reducing the grunt work or the lower hung tasks, which a lot of people were doing, right? As we move ahead, many of the reports, surveys, and futuristic books, they tell us that, hey, humans will be required in driving strategic tasks or creative tasks or tasks which require a lot of cognitive ability, right? And tasks which could be done as a routine, right, would largely be taken away either by a software or a hardware or some combination of both. If we look at data, right, where AI has been successful, it's largely till today in driving a lot of operational efficiencies, right? So there are many areas in which AI can help, operational efficiency, driving new ideas, right, or enhancing the quality of how we operate, right? Or driving new insights, right?
Thanks.
But largely, a lot of organizations have been helped with driving a lot of operational
No,
efficiencies.
that's very useful. But you mentioned automation and making a lot of people redundant from a skills perspective. To them, I only ask two questions, right? And I don't know, good, bad. The answer could be, there's no right or wrong answer. First is when CBS was being implemented in early 2000s by every bank, we said there will be no employees at the bank. Second, we've had autopilots in plane for good 20 years now. Do we still have pilots on the plane? Answer is absolutely yes. So Shashank, over to you, please, before we start with the closing comments.
No, so I think, I mean, as you rightly pointed, I mean, AI-led automation is a very evolving space. I don't think we can really pinpoint as to what it will exactly replace when and how, because the whole AI-led automation is basically when you are actually deriving a decision from your AI/ML model and able to kind of drive to a clear decisioning out of that. And when you are doing that, you're putting a lot of onus on the data, of what is being ingested into the model, on what it has been trained and what it has been verified and things like that. Also, the circumstances in which, I mean, the model is being put to. So I think a lot of this will actually help. Basically, it's a discipline. Like, and I was talking about the cloud is providing that kind of an ecosystem for data and kind of AI, to kind of really converge, right? So for that to really happen, I mean, a lot of work which is ongoing kind of need to happen. Like, let's say this whole repository of models that you are building, whether it's custom build or pre-trained, have to be really hardened in every organization to kind of drive that culture. Apart from that, there's also, an important, kind of attention on the data management quality and whole data registry, right? Where you can actually talk about what's the data coming in, going out, what is that which is really feeding into your models. You can really kind of monitor these models on an ongoing basis and deploy them where needed, as and when needed, to the same kind of endpoints and consumption points. So I think all of this put together will actually bring that kind of a regime, discipline and the rigor. Now, in terms of applying these to the respective fields you talked about in autopilot, you talked about core banking to be replaced. I mean, these are some things which will always be contextual, right? And there will be scenarios. Yes, a lot of risk-based credit decisioning. I mean, yes, there is an AI model for that today, but is there, let's say, AI which is kind of in front of the customers? Because today, I mean, there is to a certain extent, a conversation that you can drive via chat, but today people are looking for that personal connect. There is still a lot of calls landing onto the call center. There's still a lot of inquiries, coming by the text. So I think this will surely and evolve. But I think these are all areas for disruption out there. It's just about an opportunity for where you can get the human intellect and the model to really come together and fill in for each other. I mean, there will be places where the model will kind of gain significance and completely make the human redundant. But there will still be a lot of continues to provide that connect, that intelligence, that strategic mindset and decision making, which sometimes even the very best of trained models will not be able to kind of bring in. So I think it's a very kind of thin, a very, very kind of delicate rope to walk. But I think this whole convergence point that we've started with, I think this is really interesting because, as I said again, I mean, cloud is really kind of empowering and propelling that space of adoption in a really, really big way.
Right. Thank you, Shashank. Really look forward to this space. Lot of empowerment, probably in a separate discussion in some other forum. I would still want to ask you on what did you mean by the entire factories of cloud, this thing. As we go to a close, any closing comments from any of you? Just last 1 or 2 minutes, if anyone.
I have some comments on this strategy. strategy for convergence when we're talking about it, I think it's a roadmap to walk. And when you are walking, it's not a technology decision alone, it's a business decision. So involve the people involved who are running the business, because this is a strategy roadmap for the company. That is number one. Number two, an example is when you are moving towards a strategy for all these three areas, you need to take confirmed firm steps before you move forward. So there could be certain POCs, some COE standards, certain checks and balances you need to do before you move forward. And you confirm to the business that this is the strategy you are formed up to move forward. The other part is that you are going to build a lot of APIs within cross ERPs and functionings that you will run. So be aware that these takes times to build, and there could be certain mismatches that you will have to walk towards completing. And we have certain organizations that talking about realistic situations. We have moved from an on-premise FM software to a complete cloud-based FM software. So we took a decision to move before moving forward. We compared situations, and then the business was really convinced that this is the way forward. So I feel that plan very well and adopt strategies which are going to be very important for you is in a business sense, not technology sense. That's all just from my side.
Excellent point. I think the point on business should be taking the decision of the business, and not leave it to few individuals, whether it is in their individual capacity from a cloud perspective is very, very important. Whether cloud is the way to go or not, it should not be a CIO, CDO decision. It should be a decision of the executive team, right? Which would probably say, this is my future roadmap. Can I achieve this roadmap by being on-prem or by cloud, which will serve me better from a 10, 12-year horizon perspective? Excellent points. And I think the second point which you mentioned about POCs, POVs, Vidhya covered it very well, that, it's very, very important that you see the benefits of the cake before you actually start baking it. And Dhruv, Sharad spoke about taking baby steps. I love the point around data and convergence. Shashank spoke about data sciences, preparing the right kind of data, right? Data lakes. So important. You can have the best AI engine, but if you get your data strategy wrong, everything on top of it would be probably messed up. To talking about data-driven strategies, to impacting the lives of billions. To Shashank, again talking about this being a evolving stage. Next 5 to 7 years are going to be very, very interesting. To talking about it being actually a complement to the way you run your business. I think I've had an excellent time. I've taken 3 pages of notes. It was really a pleasure moderating this esteemed panel. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.